Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nadine Lee, and I am a teacher of the Tantric arts and an international best-selling author of the book Sex Priestess. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about dethroning the good boy in order to unleash your primal wild masculine, and why this is so important for men, on the path of evolution, of maturation. And, I'm a woman, obviously, speaking into this, but I feel this is a really big part of my line of work because when I work with men, a lot of the work that we do is around healing their relationship with the feminine, with their mothers, with their past relationships. And, it always stems back to the relationship with your biological mother or your caretaker who was your mother imprint as a child if you didn't have a biological mother present. So this is something that I see really affecting a lot of my male clients and something that I want to address today. So the good boy, what is this? This is this part of you that has not yet been healed and resolved. So it's the part of you that is still holding on to unhealthy attachments to your biological mother that are impacting your relationships with women now. So as a boy, you were basically, your life depended on your relationship with your mother. If your mother didn't feed you, you would die, literally. If she didn't touch you and caress you and just hold you and nurture you, you would also die. Babies are, known to, like, they need touch, like they need affection just as much as they need nutrients and food. So if your biological mother was not there, and capable of these things, you would literally die. So there's this part of you that knows instinctively you need the feminine to survive. You need a mother to survive. And if your mother wasn't fully emotionally present or spiritually present, even, you might have picked up on this, or you would have picked up on it psychically and energetically as a child. We're super perceptive and aware of what's happening in our environment as a child. And so if she wasn't all there emotionally, spiritually, psychically, sometimes physically, then as children, we develop these coping mechanisms in order to survive. And a big one that a lot of boys take on is being the good boy, like winning their mother's approval, doing everything right, fawning to their mother, making sure she's okay, like taking on her emotional burdens even. This is all happening unconsciously, but it's a primal survival uh, like adaptation that children do, and especially boys. So if you experience this, which a lot of men have, and a lot of women, like a lot of mothers were not supported by their father, the father of you, their husbands. They weren't supported in the way that they should be, so they weren't fully able to be there as the mother to support you as the child. So essentially, the father's meant to be supporting the mother. The mother then supports the child. So if that father wasn't there, and I mean, look at how many single mothers have raised boys. Like this is pretty much every single guy that I know and even have worked with, mentored, this is often the case. Single mothers raising boys. So they're not there fully like to protect and be there for you emotionally in the mothering way because they're having to hold like the father role as well. And it's a lot for a mother to take on. And yeah, so if you've experienced this, then you can, and you haven't looked at this and addressed this kind of like a trauma response or a trauma that like has locked you into this state of consciousness as a boy. If you haven't resolved this and gone back into, this part of you and healed this part of you, your inner child, then how it manifests as an adult is really it affects your relationships with women because you aren't actually operating from a man psychology. You're still locked in the boy, the good boy psychology. And how this manifests for unleashing for boys, for men. I'm going to read some that I wrote out. So, how this looks, how this impacts your relationships, if you haven't resolved this little boy wound, the mother wound, how it manifests into your relationships with women is things like, you're walking around on eggshells with women. You might experience like you just are so scared of doing the wrong thing or saying the wrong thing with your woman, and you're just trying to always keep the peace, and you suppress your truth, you suppress your desires, your needs and wants, and it's all about just like placating and supporting the woman. And it's kind of like what you did as a child, like your mother was struggling, so you were trying to caretake your mother, and that's not what a child's meant to do. And so if you experience that, this often manifests in how you treat your woman in your later adult relationships, where you project the mother, you abandon yourself and just walk on eggshells and try and do everything to make her okay. And you end up resenting her eventually. So the next thing is you let women emasculate you. You're not holding that, like, because you're so worried about getting things wrong, there's like women can sense this and they might emasculate you and kind of like undermine your masculinity, put you down, all these sort of things. And it's a difference between feminine testing and just like straight up emasculation. And you know the difference between that. The next thing is maybe you are still seeking validation from your mother, like approval of your path, your career, your way of life, even the woman that you're choosing. Like noticing if you're choosing women, you think, oh, my mum will approve of this woman. And often I say that to men, like, if your mother doesn't approve of the woman, or like not like it's someone a degenerate, but like if there's a bit of tension, it's probably a good thing because you're breaking that pattern. If you're choosing a woman who's exactly like your mom, you're actually just like perpetuating the pattern, and you're not breaking free and like standing in your own manhood and choosing a woman that you want, not what your mother wants, but you want. So noticing if you're still basing decisions on who you date around who your mother would want you to be with. This is a big one. Um, Another thing is where a lot of men, when they're in relationship, they don't prioritize the woman, especially if they're getting serious with the woman. They don't prioritize their woman, their partner, as the number one. They're still putting their mother as number one. And this is not good. Like, if a woman feels that she's number two to your mother, like this is the recipe for disaster. Your mother is your number one up until you basically, like become a man, like enter puberty and like start dating. Like once you're going through that rite of passage, you actually go off with them. Like in the tribes, the boys would go off with the men and the father and actually energetically not disassociate, but like pull away from the mother. The boy is meant to be with the mother up until 12, 13, when they hit puberty, and then they're meant to go off with the father and the men and learn how to be a man. So that process, we obviously don't have these initiations so much in society anymore, but if that would be done now, that's how it would be. And the woman that you choose is then the number one woman. Your mother comes second to her. So if your mother still feels like she's number one and she's like meddling in your relationship, there's an issue there. She needs to, be taken out at number one and put in number two. Um, the other thing is your wildness. So when you've healed this, because you've like dethroned this good boy part of you, you now have access to this wildness. And so you can actually meet a woman's wildness and not be afraid of it or intimidated by it. You can actually match that, meet that, and even like take her deeper than she could even go into her own wildness, which is super sexy. So there's a process of accessing the wild, embracing the wild. Another thing is when you've dethroned your good boy, you are more comfortable with setting boundaries, saying no. You know, you're not that people pleaser, nice guy, pushover guy that women can just walk all over anymore. You say no, women respect you. People respect you at work. People respect you in society when you have a backbone. You're not this like people pleaser, good boy that everyone can just walk all over. So these are really important things that get unlocked when you dethrone your good boy and heal that mother wound. And often I love to refer to this story. It's a myth, actually. It's from the book Iron John by Robert Bly. I highly recommend reading this book. And he talks about this myth where this little boy, he is playing with his favorite toy, and his toy one day he like, I think it's a ball he has, and the ball like rolls into this cage. And inside the cage is this wild beast of a man. And he's afraid. He's like, oh, he's in a cage. I don't have the key for the cage, and I'm too scared to even like, ask this wild beast for my ball back. So what he does, he knows that the key to the cage is underneath his mother's pillow. And he plans to, when the beast is asleep, when this wild man is asleep, he plans to go and steal the key from underneath his mother's pillow and sneak down and open the cage to get his favorite toy. And so what this symbolizes is this journey of the psyche for a male to essentially, in order to access and meet the wild man inside this cage that's been locked up for centuries, maybe, um, he has to actually betray his mother. He has to steal, the key from underneath the mother's pillow. And that is what allows him to break free and meet his wildness and, retrieve his favorite possession. So this is really a story, it's a metaphor for the male psyche. In order to meet your wild, you have to essentially disconnect from the etherical umbilical cord from your biological mother. And when I share this with men, often men get really resistant. They're like, wait, I don't want to cut out my mother from my life. And that's not what I'm talking about. That's not what the story is about at all. And it's not about stealing from your mother or betraying her in some harsh way. That's just like the extreme, representation of it. But it's essentially about cutting these unhealthy patterns and these attachments and healing that little boy within you and that mother wound. And cutting this umbilical cord, this energetic umbilical cord that still has you tethered to your mother, thinking that you need her for your very survival. This is what you needed as a child. And if you don't heal that, you still carry that in your psyche until you heal it. So there's this like umbilical cord that's attaching to you and your mother that needs to be released. Like it has to be energetically disconnected. And when you do this, you're free. You free that wildness within you. You give yourself permission to, be who you truly are. And it doesn't cut your mother out of your life. It actually brings you closer. It allows you to meet her as a man, not as the little boy anymore, the obedient little boy. You get to meet her as a man and you get to have a relationship that's healthy. It's not based on trauma and like boy psychology. So when you do this, it obviously impacts your relationships to women as well. So this is something that is really deep. It's really important on the masculine path of awakening. And I really feel that men, obviously doing men's work is so important, so important. But when it comes to healing your relationship to women and this specific piece, I really believe it has to be done with a woman. And that's really where myself and other women come in to support you through that journey. And I would love to invite you, if you are a man, into my next online offering for men. And I'm teaming up with my dear sister, Kelsey Beth. We're going to be holding a 3-day online retreat for men on the 31st of January through till the 2nd of February. It's called Initiating Her. So you're really going into your depths of yourself, your male psychology, and healing some of these core patterns with women, to your relationship to your body, to your sexuality, and learning some powerful tantric practices to help you master and liberate your sexual energy. And so when you do this, you can then initiate her, initiate your woman. It's essentially the message behind the initiating her. It's like, you know, liberating your sexuality and then elevating her pleasure through initiating yourself through this course. So if you were interested in that, we would love to invite you into this space. We have limited spaces for this. We're keeping it intimate, and it's all going to be online, 3 online sessions. You can come to the live sessions or catch the replays, is up to you. So I'm going to link this below. You can join us, and we would love to see you there. And if this has helped you, please share this video with a partner. If you're a woman watching this, share it with any men in your life that you care about. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and all my socials are underneath, my Instagram and all the rest. Okay, thank you for being here, and I will see you next week for another episode.